Racism is a complex issue, but there are simple, maybe not easy, but simple solutions that we can all take in order to fight and decrease the amount of racism in the world. So that's what this video is about. This video is not going to be about me talking about my experiences as an African American woman, either in the US or traveling globally. I don't want to dwell on the negative and dwell on the past. I'd rather spend time thinking about how we can be more effective and provide a solution to this daunting problem. I spend my time making videos here on YouTube at The Modern Lady to share different ways for women to add more light to not only their lives, but also to the world. And this video, although the topic is a little bit different from what I typically share, it does fall under that category. It's perfectly aligned with adding light and positivity to the world. I live in America, a country that has systemic racism. And as an African American woman, I have grown up and learned history from my family, from professors, from colleagues, my own personal experiences and what I've seen everywhere I turn, from the educational system to the criminal justice system to police brutality that unfortunately it seems like is never ending, and ultimately countless lives, countless African American lives are taken. They're being murdered, and this is something that has quite honestly always been a problem. Systemic racism is nothing new. It's not new in 2020. It wasn't new in 2005. It wasn't new in 1991. It's been a continuous problem. Since people were brought to America from Africa, we have been mistreated, we've been disrespected, we've been treated less than human. But we are human. We are human, we matter. In a world where there are so many different initiatives for equal rights for people from all races, all backgrounds, all different religions, it's surprising yet disheartening that African Americans have always had a less than stellar experience just living day-to-day lives. So in this video, I want to share a couple of ways that are simple. Maybe they're not easy. Maybe we can't do them all today, but they're simple ways to fight racism. I have done a lot of research around things that people can do to take action against the social injustices that we've seen as of recently this year, which are just unfortunately more to add to the long list that already exists. But at this point in the world, not even just in the country, but in the world, I do feel like people are ready to rally for change. And I first want to say that as an African American, I know that if all African Americans were rallying for change, it's just not going to be enough. We are 13% of the population in America, and we need the support and the help of other people around the world to help change a lot of the systems in place that are discriminatory and favor certain races while hurting the African American race. So I'm going to share with you 6 ways that I've found from my research I really think will be productive and positive toward affecting change going forward. The first way to fight racism is to speak up. It's incredibly important for anyone, regardless of your race or ethnicity, to stand up and take a stand when you see something wrong. Maybe you're in the workplace and you hear someone make a racial comment. you don't say anything. Or maybe you're at happy hour and you see your friends talking disrespectfully to a server. There are so many different experiences that we all witness, and we don't take a stand when we should. Unfortunately, what I've realized as of recently is that silence is acceptance. We have to use our voices. We have to take action. And when we see something we don't agree with, it's incredibly important that we raise our hand and make a move instead of allowing it to occur. Maybe you can't prevent or stop it, but you can always address it. And I think that's one of the first ways that we can start moving forward in a positive, equitable environment for people of all colors in this country. The second way to fight racism is to listen. I think it's important for all of us to listen right now because everyone has a story. Specifically, I've even been listening to my colleagues, my friends from college, my friends from graduate school, people in my community. I've been listening to some of the most abhorrent experiences that they've had in the last 5 to 12 months, and it's blown my mind. Personally, I think it's very important that as an African American, we do feel comfortable to speak up and to share and acknowledge if we don't feel comfortable or if we feel like we have been treated unjustly, disrespectfully, or unfairly. And it's also important for those that are not of African descent to have a sense of compassion and empathy. I'm not going to talk in this video for a long time about some of the extensive experiences that are part of the collective Black experience, but I will just say that every single area of our lives is affected. How we receive health care, educational opportunities. As a child growing up in a certain neighborhood that may not necessarily be perceived or treated the same way compared to someone who doesn't look like that child just at the grocery store. It's the Black experience is nothing that I would really want to assign or recommend if that were possible to give someone the opportunity to live the Black experience. It's not, there are certain things that are positive, but there's far more that is really negative. It's like a dark cloud hanging over you. Quite honestly, the only thing different between an African American and any other type of American in this country is, other than their educational skill set, personality, the fundamental difference, the main reason why an African American would be treated differently is because of the color of their skin. And to sit with that every day is not something that I would wish on anyone. So it is important for everyone to listen, for African Americans to feel comfortable enough to talk about how they're feeling, and for us all to use a level of compassion and empathy, not just today or this month or for the summer or for the year, but for the rest of our lives. That's how you can help to fight racism. In order to change the systemic racism in this country, we need systemic change, and that's definitely one way that can help. The third way to fight racism is to exercise your voice. Your voice is your vote, and your vote is your voice. Every election is important, and in a lot of conversations I've had really over the last 3 to 4 years with different people, it's quite unfortunate that a lot of people only vote in the national election and not in the local elections. The local elections are where a lot of the change can take place in legislation. Within your county, within your city, within your state, the mayor, the governor, the representatives in Congress and in the Senate, that's important. And if you're not registered to vote, I would just urge you to go online and register and start participating, because your vote matters. Silence is acceptance. When you don't vote, you can't complain. You can't complain when you see something you don't like happening in your community because you didn't exercise your voice to try to affect any type of impact towards that outcome. Voting is incredibly important. I'm not talking politics. I'm not going to talk about parties. I'm not going to talk about left or right, conservative or liberal. I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is the fact that it's incredibly important that all of us vote. So I'd urge you to register if you're not registered to vote today. The fourth way to fight racism is to, again, use your voice and sign petitions. There are countless petitions I've seen online that will be sent directly to Congress, to the Senate, to different state legislatures within different counties. I've seen so many online in the last couple of weeks. And if there is something that you see, that you've experienced, that you've witnessed, that you want to take a stand against, you can sign a petition to have your voice heard. The current legislation in place, in black and white, when you read it in text, clearly favors certain ethnicities and certain races. There are certain policies in place that allow law enforcement to take advantage of the level of power that they have. When legislation changes, that's when we will start to see a shift from the racist climate of this country. So it is important to sign petitions. I know some people think that it doesn't matter, or no one's going to look at it, but it is important. And if there are any petitions online for any causes that you want to help support, you can sign a petition. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, to support any causes. There are countless petitions online right now for so many different policies to change, and that's another way that your voice can be heard. The fifth way I want to share in this video to fight racism is to donate either your time or money. There are two organizations specifically that I want to share on this video that support social justice and social reform for African Americans and the African American community: the NAACP and the National Urban League. I will have all the links listed below, but those two organizations help to support initiatives and causes that will uplift the Black community, because there are so many situations, as I've already mentioned in this video, where we are at a disadvantage. At every socioeconomic status, every age, we come to the table at a disadvantage. And those two organizations need funding, they need support, they need volunteers to help see through some of the change and some of the initiatives that they're working toward. So those are two organizations that you can either donate your time or your money to in order to help. The sixth way to fight racism that I want to share is to support Black businesses. There are a lot of African American owned businesses that you may not know of locally in your community, whether it's a beauty supply store or a coffee shop. If it's someone that is in a professional service like photography, there are a lot of different ways that you can support African Americans within their business and use your funds that you're already planning on spending for good by shopping and really supporting local businesses. Now, I'll personally say one thing that I have really focused on, not just in the last couple of years, but really my entire life, is to support two main groups. I love to support women and I love to support African Americans. So anytime I know of a woman-owned business or an African American-owned business, I am more likely to proceed with that business, whatever the product or service they provide, compared to a large big box retail store. For example, I recently did a photo shoot and I worked with a photographer locally based in Dallas that is a woman, and that's important to me. So just like a lot of people who feel the same way, women that want to support women businesses or men that want to support women-owned businesses, we can also do that for the African American community. Some of that might require a little bit of extra effort. Maybe you're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes to actually find something, or just even asking the question to understand who owns the local ice cream shop in your town is a good start. But we can do more to empower others by supporting them with words, with encouragement, and with money as well. So I've shared 6 ways that I feel are important to fight racism. I do want to share one more thing which I recently came across, and when I say recent I mean like an hour ago. Today is Saturday, June 6th, and on iTunes in the App Store on my iPhone, the first thing I saw when I opened it up was a screen that says "Stand Up to Racism." And when I click on that, there's a list of applications. This looks like it's about maybe 10 applications, 10, 15. It might be 20. There's fitness application, meditation application, books, stories, news. There's something on here. The first one is called Voter Pal. And it says, learn how to contact your elected representatives, get helpful talking points to champion the causes you support, and place those important calls directly within the app. The second application on this list is called 5 Calls. Contact your Congress. This is an incredible resource. In the description box of this video, you'll find all the links to every app from the Apple App Store today. I don't know how long Apple is going to keep that it looks like an article on the App Store. So I want to make sure the information is living and breathing and it can continue to be shared. So I've got all of the links to the apps from that list in the description of this video, along with the 2 organizations that I mentioned. To anyone still watching this video to the very end, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you. No one chooses to be born with brown skin. No one has that option, that opportunity. No one chooses to be treated inferior. Yet that's the experience that we've had in this country as African descent people. And it's the experience we've always had. There's no change. The only change is how we are treated, through what mechanisms. The one thing that's been constant is the level of injustice and discrimination that we've endured since being brought to this country. So I want to thank you for watching this video. And I want to encourage you to do something starting today to fight against racism. Racism is a problem that affects everyone, not just those that are disadvantaged. It doesn't just affect us as African Americans, just my family, or just me. It affects everyone. It starts with change. That's the only way we're going to see any difference. That's the only way that 50 years from now it won't look like it does right now. And so I encourage you to take action however you can, because this has to stop. At what cost? How many more lives are taken before we actually see a shift in this country? I thank you for watching this video, and I know that it's a difficult time due to the global pandemic of COVID-19 as well, so I hope that you and your families are healthy. This is a difficult time for us all for so many different reasons, but this is something that we can do, everyone can play a part in towards change. Thank you.